Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black World Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, so we're going to do things in reverse order tonight. You know, normally I give you my rant at first, but I want to make sure these congressional candidates are out here working their tails off. So we're going to start with the candidates first tonight, and then stick around to the end of the show. That's when I'll give you my rant, because there's so much to talk about. Oh my God, this week was crazy. So we got to get it in. So let me introduce my candidates. Yes, I'm super excited. First of all, coming to us from, these are congressional candidates, y'all. We're sending these folks to Washington, okay? Anything is possible. We're sending them to Washington. First up, running in Congressional District 8, we have Erik Hurt. Erik, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Dana.
And of course, I am so glad we were able to get Mr. Peck rescheduled, because he caught a little bug the last time we were scheduled to come on the show. So what better way than to cover Southern Indiana in District 9, congressional candidate Tim Peck. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much.
How you feeling, bro? Because, you know, I felt so bad because you was like real feeling guilty. You didn't need to feel guilty. You know that, right?
Well, I did feel guilty. I like to do the work. I like to show up. So that was hard for me to have to cancel that. But you couldn't hear me if you tried. My voice was gone.
And look at you out there in them streets. Both of you guys are out on location. Erik, where are you right now? Because you're not at the crib.
No, I am at Evansville Central Library, supporting the local library, of course. And then I've got a fundraiser I'm going to just a couple blocks from here right after this.
I love it. And Tim, I see you're in the car. Bro, you on the move.
Yeah, I just came in from the Ripley County Fair. We have 17 full counties in my district, and this is the 17th of 17 fairs that I have been to. So it's the end of fair season, been a long one, 8 or 9 weeks, and been going hard. And after this one, I might sleep a little bit.
Sleep? What? You can't sleep till November 8th.
Just a little bit, just for a day, and then I'll get back out there.
Guys, normally I would have talked about this in my rant, but yo, we're Democrats. Can we please talk about how exciting this weekend has been? Okay, first and foremost, I ain't gonna lie. I was one of them people who were, you know, y'all get off Biden. I'm riding with Biden. But then when he stepped down, like the excitement and just the sheer joy it just seemed to bring to Democrats. Talk to me about how this has impacted what you guys are doing in your district. And I'll go in alphabetical order. Erik, I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's a huge, spur of momentum, which we need. And I think it really energized a lot of younger people who felt like Joe Biden just wasn't the right fit for this moment in time to take on this race. And a big part of what I'm trying to do in this race is to mobilize and energize younger people who have felt either overlooked or disenfranchised or disillusioned with the process. And I think this Biden stepping down, letting somebody else take the nomination at this time, I think it helped people feel like, yes, they are listening to us. They are trying to, work to make things happen beyond anybody just trying to, for their ego or trying to, get themselves into power. They're looking at the bigger movement, which I think we need to do. We have to look at that big picture movement. And so I think it was great to mobilize younger people, and I'm trying to capitalize on that momentum.
I love it. Tim, what about you?
Now, let me tell you a story. So next morning, wake up, my wife and I go into my almost 2-year-old's bedroom, the nursery, and I sat on the rocker, and my wife, she likes to crawl into the crib sometimes and snuggle with him a little bit. And my son was on her lap, and she just looks at him and goes, "Can you say Madam President?" And at that moment, I said, "Oh, wow, we're going to win this thing." Mean, yeah. I mean, the motivation, that moment, that was sweet, special moment just imagine that happening in homes all across America that morning. And it happened in mine. And so, yeah, that energy I'm seeing out here. Yesterday, I was at the Jackson County Fair, and, there's no Biden sign anymore. There's a Harris sign there that they have up. And I think it brought a lot more people to the booth than would normally be there, including Democrats feeling safer to come in this moment. So just a lot of excitement.
I love it. All right, let's dive into it. Erik, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
So my name is Erik Hertz. I'm from Evansville, Indiana. Born and raised here. Went to Central High School. Went to the University of Evansville. Started with political science. Eventually went to IU to study history. I run a movie theater here in town. I'm a huge movie buff. I've made a few. A huge supporter of the arts, and I am here running for Congress to help the working class, make sure that people get a living wage, that they can keep a roof over their head, that they can get an education, that the jobs they're working.
Hold on. We'll get into the politics. Tell the people who you are and where you come from. We want to know your story. We'll get into the politics.
Absolutely. Got the whole, like elevator pitch thing. But
I get it. And because I want to take a deeper dive into policy, but the whole goal is that everybody thinks that politicians are something other than human. Let's have that. We homies. Let's rap. What was your childhood like?
So I grew up, my great grandparents came over from Poland after World War II. I was lucky enough to know them growing up. When I was a kid, my mom was a single mom, and we lived with me and my sister, her and my grandma and my great grandparents for a time. We all lived, under the same roof, and it was really great getting to talk to them and learn from them and their experience in that time. But beyond that, I'm a huge baseball fan. I grew up playing baseball. Absolutely love it. Got really passionate about theater and acting and stuff like that as a kid, and have done that my whole life. Met my wife doing a play here in Evansville at Evansville Civic Theater. Shout out to Evansville Civic Theater. And you can meet your wife there, or your husband, or somebody.
All right,
Go do a show.
I think it's great that you're in the arts, because I feel like that's what's missing from our legislators and our leaders, because they think that they can send kids to school and they're just gonna be robots. Was there something in your youth that made you also, besides the arts, make you want to become a political leader, or or something of that nature?
Yes, I mean there was a few things. The stories from my grandparents were a big motivator early on. They lived in Poland during the invasion, during the occupation. My great grandfather, he fought in the Polish army. He was a POW throughout the war, and so just knowing what they went through under a real fascist system, one of the most horrific systems in the history of the world. I learned a lot about empathy and taking care of people, and the importance of community and connection, and not otherizing people, and just xenophobia and all these things, and how dangerous and devastating that can be. And then my family, is all working class. My grandma worked in retail her whole life. My mother worked in retail when I was a kid. My stepdad has been, on the line at factories, and he was always a union guy. And so I learned about, unions and stuff like that. But importantly, I saw how much work they did to make sure that me and my siblings were taken care of, and just how hard they worked, and seeing how much the system wasn't rewarding that work, and how much that kind of labor was being devalued over the years. And that people, working these kind of jobs and in these positions, people saying, hey, you don't deserve a living wage, or you don't deserve health care, or you don't deserve this or that. I think, because I benefited from a lot of, assistance and stuff like that in schools. I was a 21st century scholar. And if if you're a Hoosier, you probably know what that is. And so like to see how much that was devalued,
Yeah.
just I think it motivated me to get involved and to try and speak on those issues and to help people who are in my position to better themselves and have that opportunity to provide for themselves, and that they don't have to constantly work their fingers to the
Yeah.
bone, because they deserve a good life,
Absolutely.
no matter
Absolutely.
what you're doing. And
Did
so that was a big motivator for me.
did I lose Tim?
Oh, we might have lost Tim.
Oh no. Come back, Tim. Come back. Okay, we'll keep going. And so there seems to be a lack of emphasis on arts. Talk about
Oh,
how
absolutely.
the arts can shape the way that you choose to govern.
Yeah, so I think it's really important on a really broad sense to learn about the arts, to study art, to participate in the arts, even badly, because I think it helps you look at the world in a different way. I think particularly with writing and theater too, you can learn about different perspectives. If you're acting and you're trying to put yourself in a role, you're trying to see things from another person's point of view, right? You're trying to get into their footsteps. And so I think it teaches you about empathy and community and connections. Those kind of ideas, I think, are really important to guide governance. Because I think we need to be governing from a place of empathy, from a place of understanding. And that, I think, has guided me throughout my, active sort of, policy stuff since I've been actively involved, but even just, growing up and kind of learning about politics and learning about these different issues. Just, the stuff I learned in like English class or
Yeah.
history class, because I think what you're saying about the de-emphasis of the arts, I think there's also a de-emphasis of, like English education, this kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
it's guided more towards STEM. And a lot of our education is guided towards test taking and things
Yes,
like
Lord.
that. And I think if we want, better citizens and people who have, just more understanding of the world around them, we need to be, investing in English education, history education, art education, because that's how you connect to the world and the people around you, is understanding those things. And so
Yeah.
I think it's super important. And
Yeah.
even like getting involved in things like theater, my whole life, meeting a bunch of people, meeting people from different backgrounds, forming those kind of communities, because it really, like, when you're involved in those things, it definitely creates a community. I think that goes a long way, because when you have those community connections, and especially with people from different backgrounds, it helps you, better understand people and makes you less likely to otherize them
I love it. I
and say,
love it.
I want to help take care of you. I want to make sure you're taken care of. I think you
Again.
do deserve, education, because I think a lot of people get caught up in like, I don't want to pay for other people's, this, that, or the other.
Yeah, because it's everybody can get down but me. Tim, welcome back. We had a heart attack. We thought you left us, but you're back. Tell
My
the people.
phone overheated on the
Oh
dashboard.
my God. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell the people who you are and where you come from, since you so hot.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Tim Peck. I run for U.S. Congress in Indiana 9. I am an emergency medicine physician by training. I am a father. I'm a husband. I live in a small rural town called New Washington of about 550 people on a 40-acre farm with my wife and a young child. And a couple goats and some chickens and some corn, and I started this journey toward running for Congress out of being an emergency doctor. I was working actually in the Northeast. I did my training for emergency medicine at Harvard and was there during the Boston Marathon bombings. And that was a pretty intense experience for me. And during that time, I was treating people, and it was really also just, it felt very patriotic in a way. We treated 23 people, and and all 23 people survived that day. And reflecting on that, there was a good deal of division starting in the U.S. then, and I realized that it didn't matter our politics that day at all. We were treating people no matter what. You didn't go and ask them if they were Democrat or Republican before treating them. And you also didn't ask the nurse or the doctor to your left or right of what they were, right? It was just a very team-based approach. And so this idea of how do we bring people together in moments of emergency, but also moments of when there's not emergency on the table, and try to disagree but still make progress was something that I kind of got enamored with. I started a telemedicine company and practice in 2013, well before telemedicine was a thing. And that was to treat patients in nursing homes who had very little access to care. And so, I come from a family of social service workers. My father ran homeless services for the Salvation Army. My mother worked for the Catholic Church. Teachers, people who work in jails, police officers, etc. I happen to be good at science and math, the other side of the arts there. And so I kind of put that together with that social service side and became a doctor. And I also had people in my life, including my father, who, again, was working in homeless services, who just kind of said this way things work for people is not the way it needs to work. It's your responsibility to try to make that change. And the first change I really tried to make was with this telemedicine activity, trying to reach people who otherwise wouldn't be reached, save lives that otherwise wouldn't be saved. And we did. But what we also did was reduce a lot of hospitalizations, trips to the emergency department, which is very good for patients, but also good for Medicare and the pocketbook of Medicare and the taxpayer. And my company, we saved over $100 million for Medicare in a couple of years. And that got the attention of Congress.
I love it.
Because they were looking for use cases of how telemedicine could be useful in the United States to decrease funds, but also increase access and quality. And we were one of them. I found myself in DC testifying before Congress, working on bipartisan bills to make telemedicine happen, and including one for the VA, one for Medicare, and the aging. And then the government shut down in 2018 into 2019 for the longest time in history. And all that progress just came to a halt.
Wow.
And my practice that I had to stop practicing as well. And as I said, we were saving lives that otherwise wouldn't be saved. And all of a sudden we weren't saving those lives, and getting calls from the nurses and the patients and the nursing home administrator saying, if you were here, this person or this person would have been alive. And I think the politicians really lost sight of the end user in what they are doing, right? The very basic process of keeping the government open. And having all the conflict get in the way of actually just keeping that open and getting the budget done and making things move forward, had real consequences on the people, on my life, but the people I were treating. And so that moment I said, I want to be someone who can bring people together, never have this happen again, be able to kind of work across the aisle. I believe in democratic ideals, but I also believe that, compromise and work and debate is how we can move things forward in this world. And that's what made me run.
I love it. You hit on so many different things. Did you grow up in rural Indiana?
I did not. I actually grew up in Maine, rural Maine, and suburban New York, both.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, kind of all over, and then rural Indiana. So I've seen the country, and my wife is from here in southern Indiana.
Okay.
And this is where we settled down and decided to raise our family.
I love that. I love that. So I'm listening to your story, and you're hitting on, you're a job creator, you're an innovator, you're a businessman, an entrepreneur. You live in rural Indiana down in the 9th district, and you are hitting all of those GOP touch points. But it was your upbringing in the East that kind of shaped your value system. When you see, and we know who was the cause of the shutdown in 2018, they was bragging about it. They was real happy about it. And when you see these folks that are not looking out for the humans that they are supposed to represent, what does that do to your insides when you are someone who has been trained to save lives?
Aaron Houchin, my opponent, has voted against the budget 3 times, right? And loves voting against things, and loves, as we know, not putting bipartisan border deal on the table, right? And taking that off the table when people were actually starting to try to work together. And all those things have real consequences. I know we as Democrats don't always like to bring up the border and talk about it in detail because it feels like the other side of the aisle is kind of trying to own that as something that they should be proud of in some way, but they should not. People are getting hurt on both sides of that border because we can't get a deal together, and that's on them. And so, that makes me sick. It hurts. And it's not on every single one of the people, the Republican leaders. Sure. And it's certainly not on the everyday Republican. And I like to differentiate the everyday Republican from the leaders who are, torpedoing a lot of our progress. But it hurts inside. And that's, when Aaron Houchin
don't say
voted
her
against
name no more. That's it. You only get one time to say her name. That's it.
When she voted against the budget is when I said, okay, it's time. It's time. This is my time to go.
All right. Well, both of you have something in common. I'm going to assume this is the first time you guys are running for office, right?
Correct.
No, this is my second time. First for this.
Okay. What did you run for before, Erik?
In 2022, I ran for Vanderbilt County Auditor.
Okay.
Here in Vanderbilt County. I was living in Orlando with my wife for a few years, and in 2020, we decided to come back home. And I think because I had originally gone to school for political science, bounced off of that, was very politically aware and, kind of active on an activist sort of side. But after, COVID and that response, it definitely, I think, sort of spurred me to get actively involved in politics on the ground.
Got it.
And so when we were getting out of Florida, we both decided to come back to Evansville. Both of our families were here, and we wanted to try and, give what we could to our home and try and make it a little better and do what we can to help Southwest Indiana. And so part of that for me was to get involved in politics, and I saw an opening and I wanted to get involved, and so I ran. I'm just kind of continuing what I wanted to try and do there, which is to build a movement here in Southwest Indiana.
So both of you are first-time congressional candidates, right?
Yes.
So Tim, he got a little something on you. He's gone through the rigmaroles already. Tell us, those of us who have never run for Congress, what it is like to have to, navigate 8, 9 different counties, rural, suburban, urban.
I wish 8, 9 counties.
How many do you have, Erik?
21.
21? But you know what that says? Like, there's no people in some of those counties, right? I mean, that's what it says. There's no, 21 counties. Because think about it. District 7 is not even a whole county, right? That's Indianapolis. It's not even a whole county. So it's just that there's no people in those counties. But there are people, that just the population is not. So you basically have all rural counties. Tim, I know you have like Bloomington and also Jeffersonville, but then you have a lot of rural spaces in between. But what has it been like 21 counties, navigating the geography, and what have you learned because Evansville is an urban area. So you guys kind of have the urban, suburban areas. Mm-hmm. What has it been like having to navigate all of the spaces that encompass Indiana? Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, my entire message is, we're in one of the most divided times in history. We've had a Congress that just is not really getting much done. And I am here to bring people together. I am here to talk to people on either side, but much more than talk, it's about listening. And so I do spend a lot of time in Jeffersonville, New Albany area, a lot of time in Bloomington, but as you said, I have 17 counties in between, right? So
we gotta make a mass exodus down to southern Indiana so we can put some people in them counties. Because that's a lot. Because your congressional seat is based on population, so it's taking 21 counties to get 70,000 people. And oh my gosh, yeah.
800K, about 800K, right? So
800,000 is that what it is? 800?
Yeah, between 700 and 800. Yeah.
Wow. I feel for y'all. So Erik, I mean, you ran in a county seat, now running in a 21 county seat. What has it been like to navigate and traverse those different spaces for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, and especially getting started, it felt a bit overwhelming because, most of the counties have, their sort of, party infrastructure, the Democratic county chairs and stuff like that. And so that was good, but I didn't know a lot of individuals in these different counties. And so, a big thing was, making those connections, meeting people. And I was lucky enough in a lot of places to make some connections and then, kind of be sort of toured around in Tell City, a man named Larry Kleeman, just sort of, toured me around, helped me, introduce me to a bunch of people. And so that was really helpful. And then also part of what I've done and part of my focus has, like I said before, been on students and colleges. And so one of the ways I tried to navigate it was through the universities. And so kind of going to those spaces and having those built-in communities and try and connect with people there. And it's tough to engage students on that level. Yeah. And even, I kind of come at this, it's like, I'm a young guy, but I'm 32 now.
You a youngin. You a youngin. That's all I'm gonna say. You a youngin.
I appreciate it.
Indiana's own Dana Black. I am talking to two Southern Indiana congressional candidates, Erik Hurt out of District 8 and Tim Peck out of District 9. We just finished talking about 17 and 21 counties that they have to navigate. Guys, that takes a lot of gas. That's a lot of gas, and gas ain't cheap. It's $3.50, $3.60, no matter where you are. Could y'all please click on their donate links, give them a little bit of money so they can go get some gas, because they got volunteers they got to pay gas for. I mean, and if we want to get our message out, right, if we really want to be serious about getting our message out, they have to go themselves or send their volunteers, and it takes gas to do that. So please click on the donate link, donate to these two fellas. They could use all of the help that you can provide. All right, let's get into the policies. Every candidate, every campaign has about 3 issues. Erik, you were about to start to jump into yours, so I'm gonna make you wait. We're gonna go with Tim first. Tim, highlight the 3 areas that you are hitting on most when you are talking to constituents. You hit all the 9 fairs. What are you talking to?
17 fairs.
Listen, I don't want y'all to be in the double digits with all this work. I just don't. But y'all are. What are you saying, and what are you talking about with them as far as your platform is concerned?
Yeah, I'll tell you. And what I tell moderates and independents, what I tell more central leaning Republicans, and what I tell people within our own party is the same thing. And so I like to have that message be clear and genuine. And again, I start always with, we're divided right now. I want to bring us together. And no matter who you are, you agree with that.
Right.
I haven't met a single.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's bring us together. And so got to do the work. Tweeting is not work.
Mm-mm.
And what is work is actually debating and compromise. And so I'm willing to do that. So I start there, and then I ask every single constituent, what do you care about?
Mm.
And that's how I start the conversation and listen to what they have to say. And usually that answer is my family, my faith, my community, my work, my job, my health. It's not, the border or Ukraine or even abortion, or, that's not where it usually starts. And then, you meet people where they are
Mm-hmm.
and talk about those issues. And then, it gets into the actual issues. The places where I like to concentrate, because it's important to me, is, healthcare in general. And with that comes women's reproductive rights. I am an emergency physician, and I've treated a lot of women who've been raped,
Mm.
and even
Sweet.
some girls who've been raped.
Mm.
And I've treated women who would have died unless we treated them with an abortion. And I tell every Republican I meet that story in that same way, and they can't start fighting me on that, right? They're listening. I got their attention now. And I say, never once when I was counseling those patients did I ever say or think about what the government had to say.
Right.
The government just doesn't belong in my exam room, and we can extend the argument out from there to the rest of the cases of abortion. So I think that's an extremely important part of my message, and it's couched within the larger message of healthcare in general, trying to create more access at an affordable, more quality way. And I have some really specific ways I'd like to do that. Economy, how do we get inflation under control? Even though it's starting to be under control, people aren't feeling that yet. And I go back to, we're not going to fix this economy unless we can actually pass bills.
Right.
And we can actually work.
Yeah.
So that's where I focus always, is like, if you want to actually get something done here, and if they come at me with border, or they come at me with, opioids, or they want to talk about, Ukraine, they want to talk about anything, you just go back to the fact that we can't really seem to get anything done right now. And I want to be someone who can work with both sides of the aisle.
I love that answer. Erik, what are your main issues? Because you started naming them and you flicked your finger, you was ready. Go.
Like I was saying before, I come from a working class background. I'm a working class guy, and helping working class people is my top priority. That means making sure, people are getting a living wage. And beyond that, guaranteeing benefits. And the way I try and frame it, and the way I talk to people about whether it's, guaranteed paid time off, guaranteed sick leave, guaranteed parental leave, is sort of from a perspective of not just the worker issue, but family values as well. Because I think that's something that the right tries to kind of co-opt, that they have these family values. But
they just have certain family values.
Yeah, well, I don't even see them as family values. A lot of them are just, people, wearing a dress, or, loving who they want to love. It's not family values. What I want to try and help people is to take care of their families, to be able to spend time with their families, to make sure that families have those opportunities, and in any way, shape, or form. And so I think that's really important to try and get people to recognize, is that we need to protect those things, protect people's, rights as workers, as individuals. Sure. Make sure that people are that we're protecting Social Security, that they're able to retire, and that they don't have to just be, working and working and working. And so bringing down the cost of living, bringing down the cost of housing, bringing down the cost of education, all of these things tie in to people being able to provide for themselves in a more effective way. And when you can provide for yourself easier, you're going to be able to spend more time to yourself and with people you love. And I think that's really important. I think that's what most of us want, is just to be able to provide for ourselves, take care of ourselves, and be with the people we care about. And I think a big part of that is making sure that people are given the tools that they need to provide for themselves. And so elevating workers, giving them the opportunity to make the best and to thrive, that is my number one priority. I care deeply about education and investing heavily into education at every level. I believe in guaranteed universal pre-K. I believe that community college should be free and just an extension of our investment into K through 12. I believe in debt-free, four-year universities, because the cost has gotten completely out of control. And if you look back in the 60s and the 70s, you could have just a part-time job at the minimum wage and pay off your college. That is impossible right now.
Yeah.
And so there's no place, in the country, whether, it's some place like IU or even USI here in Evansville, where if you're making the minimum wage, working 20 hours a week, going to school full time, you can't even pay the tuition.
No.
Let alone your books and your housing and food and clothes and all these other things. And so I think we need a massive investment into education, because you're never going to regret investing in people's education. You're never going to regret having talented, educated, skilled citizens, unless you want to be able to exploit those people.
Right. Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people want to do. And that's why they're attacking education and pulling funding and pulling these things, making college unaffordable, is because they want a workforce that they can exploit. And so I want to protect people from that. I want to help them get the skills and the education that they need in order to provide for themselves. And then building on infrastructure. And, we saw a massive investment in infrastructure during Biden's administration, and that's what we need to continue to push. And that is everything from public transportation to, making sure our roads are fixed. And for me, I think building more dense, walkable communities, I think, is really important, because I think that gets people, untied from cars, that we're building around people and not, vehicles, I think is really important, because it gives people freedom and opportunity to decide how they want to travel and how they want to live. Because I think for a lot of people throughout the country, if you want to be able to travel conveniently and freely, you have to buy a car, which means you have to pay for the insurance, which means you have to pay for the upkeep, which means you have to pay for new tires, oil changes, all of these things. And if we build our communities around people, then we can give people more freedom on how they want to travel, if they want to buy a car, if they want to do these things without sacrificing convenience. And it'll help people get jobs. It'll help people connect, and it'll help us use less energy too. Which I think is really important, in terms of infrastructure too, that green infrastructure. It can't just be finding, ways to use cleaner energy. I think we need to find ways to use less energy as well, because that's how we're going to be sustainable. Ooh. That's how we're going to provide, the best opportunity for our kids' future, for their kids' future, and to keep us sustainable in the long run.
I love it.
And so workers' rights, education, infrastructure, that's my big three.
Okay. Now, Tim, this is not for you. This is just for Erik, because Erik had let me know that he's got 3 more minutes and he has to bolt on me. Okay. Yeah. First question is, what is the first piece of legislation you want to work on? That's your question. And then tell the people where they can find you.
So something I've talked about with one of my interns, is an idea for the right to refill. Which I think is something that we can do in order to promote sustainability and get away from the use of single-use plastics. And there are legislation here in Indiana and other places that prevent businesses from either banning like plastic bags, mm-hmm. or allowing somebody to bring in a water bottle, or mm-hmm. Just this, that, or the other to refill for things that they want to purchase or things they want to buy. And I think if we're going to become more sustainable and get away from those single-use plastics and these things that are just polluting our environment, mm-hmm. The studies are out there. We're all filled with microplastics at this point. We need to be getting away from that, and it's something that I haven't really seen brought up, and it's something I really want to work on. Where you can find me is erichurtforcongress.com. That's where you can donate. We're trying to do, 8 for the 8th. So if you're able to pitch in $8 a month, that can go a real long way into helping us get our message across and, get me to Washington to try and, work on making things, better for people in Indiana. You can also find us across pretty much all social media. Erik Hurt for Congress at Facebook, Instagram, Erik Hurt on Twitter. We're on TikTok.
Oh shoot, I gotta check you out.
Yeah, I'm not doing dances, unfortunately. Maybe soon. If you can convince me, maybe I'll start doing that. But yeah, you can find me pretty much anywhere across the internet, and just across Southwest Indiana.
I love it.
And,
I love it. Well, you know what? I am going to let you go because I know you have another fundraiser coming up. But if you have any fundraisers, please share it with me and I'll make sure that I get it out to the community. So thank you for tuning in. Tim, don't go nowhere. Me and you going to keep rapping if that's all right. Take care,
Sounds
Erik.
good.
Thanks for stopping, buddy.
Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you for having me on. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you.
All right. See, I try to respect my candidates' time because, they got things to do. They out here talking to the people. So Tim's going to talk to me for just a little while longer because, you talked about a lot of good stuff. You talked about women's health care or healthcare, period. Living in rural Indiana and seeing the people who have been elected into office by rural Indiana. What do you want to say to rural Indiana for them to understand that the people that they continue to elect are not doing the work for them? I mean, how do you phrase it? How do you, I know we talked about coming together, but bro, there's got to be like a magic button, maybe?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, there is a movement going on here and a real sea change here in southeastern rural Indiana that people throughout all of Indiana don't know about yet. People within my own district in Bloomington don't know about it yet because there's 2 hours separating those two communities from the Louisville suburbs and rural area from Bloomington. So let me tell you, in 2023, things changed. Democrats won about 75% of the races in Floyd and Clark counties and some of the surrounding areas there. Bloomington is not the only city in my district now that has a Democratic majority on their city council and mayor.
Love it.
New Albany does as well. And Jeffersonville has a majority city council that is Democratic. Clarksville does as well. Mayor Treva Hodges is representing as a Democrat. Yep. Everyone loves Treva. And her early endorsement meant a lot because she won in a small rural town of Charlestown in 2023 as well. And so did the mayors of Scottsburg and Austin and North Vernon. Those are all Democratic mayors right now.
Wow.
And people on their city councils as well. And so these are rural areas. And that flip is all happening in 2023. Why has that happened? Well, there's some interesting dynamics happening down here for the rest of everybody to know. One is Jamie Knoll. You may or may not have heard of. Jamie Knoll was the GOP chair here. He's currently in Scott County Jail with $1.5 million bond because he stole millions of dollars from Clark County taxpayers and then reinvested it into his own pockets as well as the GOP's pockets. So I'm going to mention some people. I know you said not to mention names, but I'm going to mention people who have taken money that are literally my taxes and running against them with us, running against me with them. And so that is all the way from, used to be Mike Pence took that money, but also Braun and also Houchin. All of them took dirty money and they have it and they're using it against us. So the people of this district are angry that the Republican Party has violated their trust. And they've seen what's happened with the supermajority. And last year, they started voting differently. They started voting for the more pragmatic Democratic message. And so that's been pretty amazing to watch. The other thing is there's been a little bit of population boom here because we are in this Louisville and Cincinnati suburbs area, and with 2020 and the pandemic, people moved out of those cities, and there's developments everywhere.
Okay.
And so those people, usually come with an open mind and are more independent or leftward leaning. And then, of course, Roe being overturned, you just saw all the suburbs across the U.S. kind of go a click to the left. We had a lot of independents that were voting right in Louisville suburbs, and now they're voting left. That's just the nature of it. So polling is looking very good, and it's a winnable race. And we are only 4% down with 13% undecided in the last poll that we had in an informed poll. So pretty good of what's going on. Yeah.
And it sounds like, more importantly, it sounds like you really have a good handle on your district. I mean, you named off many different factors that will come into play. That bodes well, because if I lived in your district and you rattled off all of that about what was going on in your district, I'd be like, oh, he really does understand. And do you think the work that you're doing at the congressional level will have an impact on some of the state house and state senate races, maybe?
100%. So we're having a big rally for Indiana 9. We're going to have it at the Clark County 4-H fairgrounds. So first of all, the Clark County 4-H fairgrounds is supporting us and putting us onto their fairgrounds, right? Because I have dedicated myself to being at every single one of these county fairs. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars here supporting the 4-H and their work that they've done. And that has gotten the community to see that we actually care, that we're good people. They come up to the tent, they come up to the booths, and they say, I want to meet you because I heard you're a good guy. I heard you're investing in our community. I was at a rodeo in Lawrenceburg the other day, and someone from a different county, a 17-year-old kid, came up and says, thank you so much for sponsoring our fair. That gave us the money to be able to run it. And I just wanted to thank you. We registered that guy and made a voter out of him for the Democrats that never would have voted otherwise for us. So, we're doing the work. And that rally is on September 4th. Barron Hill, our last representative, is going to be there speaking. So is Terry Gooden, who is from that area, who's going to huge boost to us down here in Southeast Indiana. Destiny Wells will be speaking, myself. And then to answer your question, 6 of our House District, State House candidates will be there. And we are raising money for in a number of different ways, for myself and those candidates. And so, we also have some close ones. Thomas Horrocks, he's a winner. And that's, I'm helping him, he's helping me get people out. And Wendy Danchesser, is strong in the Jeffersonville area, and she's going to win this election and keep that seat. Jason Applegate and Floyd is, again, New Albany has flipped already, and he's just riding that wave and going strong into it. And Trish Wickham, whose father used to be the governor.
Nothing needs to be said about T-Dub.
Yeah,
I already know. And she gonna get old crazy Jim Lucas on out of there.
And I can keep going. We got some really great. This is a flippable district right now, and we need the rest of Indiana to know that. In terms of my call time, making calls, I call people all throughout Indiana. I'm having fundraisers all through Indiana, not just my district. Because, we're given the message that you invest here, we can flip this thing and have Indiana be the reason that the House flips blue this year.
I love it. I'm listening to you talk. And again, your knowledge of your district, the knowledge of your fellow Democrats, you sound like a man at the top of the ticket. You sound like, I know we got a top of the ticket, but you sound like someone who not only is running to win your race, but you have really invested in not just your community, but also into the party. One thing you said was that you helped with the fair to get underway. I cannot tell you how many times I have told folks within our party and other candidates, you need to go do stuff for people before you start asking for stuff from people. And that is a prime example of what I'm talking about. You didn't have to do it. You just knew it was the right thing to do. And you registered him to vote. You probably said, maybe consider voting for me, but you just wanted him to get registered. But he had something tangible as a reason to vote for you because you were delivering for the people. Tim, you know what? I've seen you around. This is not the first time we've talked to each other, but this is the first time I really got a chance to kind of hear your story, and I'm really excited about it. I loved Eric's as well. I love how he's coming with the working man. But guys, we need you to donate to these folks, right? Click on that donate button and donate through AgBlue. Something else you can consider, because I hear you talking about all the folks that are coming through. You should get with me with AgBlue so we can create a tandem form so you guys can raise money for all those candidates. Oh man, thank you so much for joining me. Go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing just to make sure the crowd knows here. Even during that, fair season was June, July, and doing all that, I still went to 3 Juneteenth celebrations in our district, to 5 Pride celebrations in our district for June. Right? It's not just about reaching all these swing voters. It's actually reaching our core voters.
Love it.
And those core voters, let me tell you, what I've seen, first of all, we have prides in Madison, rural town. We have prides in Batesville, even more red rural town. Pride in Corydon, red rural town. These people are coming out and celebrating their lives, their choices. And we're celebrating it with it. And I've sponsored all those, and I've had the tents there, right? And I show up, and as you're saying, give and show your face to this community before you ask something for them. And I think that's been great, doing it all along the whole political spectrum, not just our base, not just the swing, not just even the kind of Nikki Haley Republicans that won't vote for Trump. All of us. So showing up for everybody.
I love it, man. You got between, the weekend with the VP and talking to you and Erik tonight. I think my post was right on point on Facebook. Like, it was on point. I think I nailed it. Tell the people where they can find you, Tim.
TimPeckForCongress.com. I am on TikTok, and I am flipping the district. So I am learning how to do a backflip on TikTok.
Okay, good thing you're an emergency doctor. Good, don't hurt nothing.
Absolutely. Tomorrow I have another lesson, so I'm being taught by an American Ninja Warrior, believe it or not. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So go on TikTok, you can see some progress there. A lot of bloopers too, which people like a lot more than the success. I wish they like the other more. And then, Instagram, Facebook, we're on it all. And you can always, sign up through our website to donate as well as to volunteer. And I like to answer my own emails as they come through the website. So you'll get me as first point of contact.
Well, it sounds like you're running a top-notch campaign over there, buddy. And I wish you the absolute best of luck. Like I said, you're literally in the streets right now. So I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight and taking time out of your campaign to talk to our Turn Left listeners. They got a mouthful, an earful, and a mindful. So I really do appreciate you bringing all of that to us. And I look forward to seeing what happens between now and November. And if you need anything from me, reach out to me. August I'm traveling, but I can make the trek. You know me, I'll drive. Have truck, we'll drive. So let me know if you need anything from Indiana's Own.
One more thing is that on 7/30, July 30th, on Tuesday, we're having a reproductive rights roundtable with myself and Destiny Wells, as well as a professor from IU who's a Supreme Court expert, as well as the head of the Emergency Medicine Society here in Indiana, and as well as Carrie Rouse, who's OBGYN, who fought for the carve out for life of the mother when we had the special session. So we'll all be there. And so Dana, I'll give you the link to that too, if you would. It would be great to see people on that.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your evening, buddy.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Were you guys fed by our guest tonight? I mean, I was flat out fed. Okay. I'm no longer dinner hungry, but I didn't get a chance to do my rant earlier because the gentlemen were out and about, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't keep them all night because I'm capable of doing that with all the talking that I do. So I wanted to talk about my rant today. So the Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports, in defense of its lawsuit against the Indiana Health Department, a South Bend-based abortion group doubled down in new court filings that medical records do not compromise patient privacy and should be made available to the public. The ongoing lawsuit was filed in May by Voices for Life, which seek to regain access to terminated pregnancy reports, TPRs, that are no longer being released by the Indiana Department of Health. The state health department is seeking to dismiss the lawsuit, however, maintaining that TPRs qualify as medical records and are exempt from disclosure under Indiana's Access to Public Records Act, also known as APRA. The agency motion to dismiss is still pending. But Voices for Life response to that notion filed Tuesday argues that IDOH's reading of the TPR law is flawed. It tramples the legislative purpose behind TPRs by cutting off the public's access to the public records it needs to examine whether abortion providers are complying with the law, and by depriving the public of means to ask whether public officials are meeting their duties to enforce the law and whether corrective action, including additional legislation, is needed to improve the public weal. Benjamin Horvath, representing Voices for Life, wrote in the legal brief. To give you some context, prior to lawmakers passing a strict abortion ban, IDOH regularly released the reports with information redacted to protect privacy. Horvath emphasized that TPRs do not identify the individual patient or who received care, meaning there is no patient to give or withhold consent and no patient privacy interest to protect. In the past, groups have filed complaints on specific doctors listed on the report when notification was late. Also in the past, abortion groups have used the reports to file medical licensing complaints against specific doctors for procedural issues such as filing a TPR late. Okay. This is problematic to me because I don't understand why I have to give up my medical records that is not non-redacted to people, because they can reverse, as the report says from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, they can reverse engineer and find out who the patient was and who the provider was. This group is spending their money trying to get your personal information. They are really spending money trying to get information about people who had medical procedures. Where will it end? Y'all, when will it end? When will they stop trying to get into our business and stay in our business? And that is why this past weekend, I was riding with Biden and I was going, because I'm voting blue no matter who. I know y'all say we shouldn't be that. It's about the person and all of that other stuff. But look at the policies that people write. Look at the policies the Republicans write. Look at the policies the Democrats write. I'm not with no Democrat 100%, but look at the policies. One group wants to strip you of your ability to have body autonomy. One wants to protect it. One is trying to defund public education. The other one is trying to protect public education. One is trying to make sure health care is affordable. The other one wants to make sure the health care the medicals and the pharmaceutical people can make as much money as they can off of your sick behind. So I'm voting blue for no matter who, because more than likely 75% of the time I'm going to get down with the policies they write. And plus, one group is trying to erase the LGBTQ plus community, and one is trying to protect the rights of all citizens, including the LGBTQ plus community. So I was riding with Biden, no matter who, I'm voting blue. But to see what happened when the vice president was endorsed, and it was coming out like I never seen so many old white people coalesce around a woman of color like that in my life. I've been on this planet 54 years. I ain't never seen nothing like that. Now, again, I'm not saying they all right or they all wrong, but look at the energy that was generated. Instead of someone who was 81 running, we have someone who is 59 59. We're like 5 years apart. She's a Gen Xer. She is of the generation that didn't do what we were supposed to do. And that's why the boomers and the millennials are fighting. But we get somebody younger, somebody that's in touch, somebody that believes in the future and protecting the future. And oh, by the way, all of you GOP haters out there talking about people without kids shouldn't be in governing. Some people who have kids shouldn't have kids. That's real talk. And some of us made a conscious decision and said, I don't even want to plant, let alone a kid. So why would you, if somebody don't want to plant, why would I have a kid? But that doesn't mean that I can't govern, because what you're saying is if you have to be married or have children to be able to govern, then you're not looking out for single people. Don't they count? Who's looking out for the single people? So I'm excited because I'm looking at the energy that this generated and the millions of dollars that were raised, small dollar donors. I work at Act Blue. You see what's been happening. The money is coming in because they believe in the future. This is the future. Vice President Kamala Harris is the future, and young people are getting on board with her. I don't even know what that brat thing means, but the young people do. And we need young people to show up and show out. We need everybody to show up and show out. I've seen where, thousands of black women got together and raised over $1 million. Thousands of black men got together and raised over $1 million. The Latino community is coming together and raising millions of dollars. Do y'all realize the progressives have endorsed the vice president for president of the United States? The progressives, the far left, they're like, yeah, we down. We riding with her. And I know that some of y'all want to, is she black? Is she not? Look, let it go. If she were to get pulled over by the police in a dark night, guess how they going to treat her? If she wasn't the vice president. So if she's going to, deal with the consequences of that skin color, give her what she deserves for her skin color. I don't get off into that. But I've seen the energy and the excitement that naming her as the candidate. Now we got to go vote on her. I'm not a delegate, but I'll be there. I'm just excited to see the excitement. Other people are as excited about politics and the political life as I am. Now what we have to do is make sure that we bring that momentum down into Indiana, right? We have candidates at the top of the ticket that are running statewide. So if we commit to finding a candidate to help out, I don't care which one of those statewides you help out, help one of them out. If you can only help one, pick one, help them out. Because if we galvanize around what's happening with the vice president and we can transfer some of that to our statewide candidates, there's nothing that says we can't flip seats in the state house. Nothing that says we can't have the governor. There's nothing that says we can't have the AG. Nothing that says we can't do it. But it's up to us to make it happen. Just like she told the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, it's up to us. And when we show up to fight, we win. So guys, that is my show for tonight. I really do appreciate my two congressional candidates that came on tonight. 21 and 19 counties. Ooh, Lord, that is a lot of road work, window time, and they took time out to come talk to us and share their vision for Hoosiers if they can make it. I'm claiming it when they make it to Washington, D.C. to help out Representative Frank Mervan and help out Representative Congressman Carson. So we need to send some more people from this Indiana delegation to Washington. I do appreciate you guys tuning in every week to Turn Left. The work that we do, or the work that I do, is just trying to bring you as much information as I possibly can to keep you motivated and keep you energized. Please follow me on YouTube, like and subscribe. Follow me on Spotify and iTunes, like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of this content. I'm also excited to share with you, in conjunction with my girl, Mary Noon, and my guy, Mark Gavart, we are putting together, there's a lot of people breaking down Project 2025, and it needs to be done. But our focus is how Project 2025 is impacting Hoosiers. Okay, we take the policies and we solidify them down into how it's happening in Indiana. And you will get our first episode this week. I will make sure that we share it out. We've already recorded it. It's on the education system and how it's impacting Indiana. So be sure to check that out. It's called Let's Talk Indiana. I'm excited about this venture. I love it's a limited series. We all have our own podcast. We all have our own things, but it's a limited series, and we're putting this together so that we can break it down from an Indiana perspective. So I appreciate y'all tuning in, and y'all make sure y'all have a good night, and I'll holler at you next time. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.